I want to talk about people's assertion about consciousness. It's weird. I was watching a video by, what's his name, Gunter? I think his name's Gunter. And he was an atheist, and he was talking about religion, how he doesn't like Christianity. He seemed like kind of on that angry atheist vibe where, like, the Bible sucks. But when he talked about consciousness, he said something that I only hear religious people say, feeling like there's some higher power or some higher consciousness. And I hear a lot of people say things like that, and yeah, to each their own. Every belief. You can believe whatever you want. But one of the stranger things he said was when he felt like consciousness had to come from some consciousness. Like he didn't feel like consciousness could arrive on its own. He then did say that, like, you know, he mentioned some, like, he wasn't, I don't think he was attached to that position completely, or hasn't fleshed it out. He said something about non-living things coming from living things. I think he meant living things coming from non-living things. I think that's what he meant, the opposite. But like, I think if he worked through that entire point, I'd love to be able to like talk with him and see where his position comes from, because I don't think most people that are atheists that accept evolution generally have that same thought about other aspects of mammals' experience. Evolution's a multifaceted, not even really evolution, but I'm gonna have to say, like, abiogenesis really is like a multifaceted discipline, and it's really complicated, and I want to be able to explain every single detail of it. Evolution really covers things that are already living. Abiogenesis is generally considered the study of like how life or living things came to be. But it's evolution is obviously much more accepted, but abiogenesis is generally accepted. Like, yes, non-living material at some point through chemical processes created some sort of living material, and that living material changed multiple times until we have all the life and diversity we have today. When we talk about things like consciousness, for one, that assumes living things already exist, so we're already past that anyway. Like, for one, things that have some sort of something similar to a brain likely already exist. But when we talk about consciousness, like, dogs are generally, like, I think we'd think like a dog or a cat or any like common house pet has some consciousness, right? But it's not the same thing not exactly the same thing that we're talking about. We say, you know, human consciousness. You can see, like, I watched a video, like some monkey using an iPad, it's actually scrolling, it's putting on clothing, it gets scared, they play games, they have fun, they remember faces, they have things that they care about, and things that they can be apathetic to. Like, animals have a thing called consciousness that's not doing as much complex work as we're doing. Like, yeah, sure, a monkey probably couldn't understand how to use a phone and record this video and then have complex conversations with its peers on subjects like consciousness. Yeah, but it can do a bunch of other things. That an example I was using, like saying like consciousness has to come from consciousness. Like, I don't think we wouldn't say like sight has to, like, seeing things have to come from seeing things. Again, the idea of how sight came into being is that there's some creature with a sensitive patch of skin that would respond to the heat that would come from. Maybe I'll just put like the picture, like a picture of, or like a tag it in the source, but like different evolutionary steps existed for each organ. The characteristics of a brain the same way. Like, you know, probably 200,000 years ago, whatever ancestor we had did not do the same things that our brains do now. And then, you know, another 200,000 years before that, brains very much were less capable of any type of thing that you would consider consciousness. You may not even consider it consciousness. Like, it doesn't have to come from, like, no trait has to come from that same trait when it comes to evolution, because there are many similar-isk traits that directly precede, and it's slowly changing into a new trait. Like, my thing again, like, if you're accepting evolution, face value, I think it's weird to just not accept it, or not that you don't accept it. And it's weird to say, well, something else has to happen for consciousness, and it seems like people just do that because they think the mind is special. Like, they feel a personal connection to their like what is happening when they're thinking. They, like, thinking is everything. Your entire existence, like, you is what is thinking, right? Not even like your brain, but like the ability to process things and feel things. That's what you is. And I feel like there's a want for that to be special among theist and non-theist alike. Like, I've heard people argue that consciousness is like an argument for God or whatnot, and that's kind of what they're doing by saying like there's got to be some higher power, and like, but like that doesn't make any sense really. Like it's like, hey, because minds exist, some bigger mind had to make minds exist. Like, well, what made that mind exist, right? Like, I think generally we wouldn't accept like when a theist says, look, the universe just came into being. Well, what put the universe into being? And then they're like, who's to say? And it's like, well, something had to, and God had to do it. There has to be a thing that never had to exist that created everything that existed, that never had to be created that created everything. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what created your God? It's like, if your God can exist and it didn't have to be created, the universe or reality can exist and it didn't need to be created. You're just pushing it down to a thing that you like better. It's like, I'm just not pushing it down a further step. I'm just saying like, hey, I don't know. Maybe it's always existed. Maybe something made it. Maybe, I mean, whatever possibilities in between them. I'm not going to go through every possibility of how reality can or can't work. But like with consciousness, I feel like it's the same thing. I'm like, consciousness can't just come into being. Something had to make consciousness come into being. I'm like, yeah, probably evolution. I was like, well, evolution can't do it alone. I'm like, why not? I don't know. That's all. I got to go to the gym. If you guys probably have disagreements, let me know in the comments. I'll make sure I'll put a picture of the guy or tag him so I can know who I'm talking about.